Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, sir.
Good 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 evening, sir.
It's like he's no longer on this call.
Ah, um, Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I hear you.
I don't know why it is
Yes, sir, we
it's
can
now
hear
lying
you.
into. All right, thank you. So yeah, welcome to I don't think this thing is okay yet, but please give me a minute or two trying to make sure this thing is working perfectly fine. I don't think it's what is this? My system suddenly starts hanging immediately I start sharing my screen. I don't know why. Oh, it is. Oh, this might be a problem. Okay, yeah, almost I want to work without the mouse, but yeah, can anyone confirm that my screen is changing? Like, can see variance analysis, cost variance,
Yes,
direct material variance.
Yes,
Yes,
we can
yes,
see
sir.
you, sir.
yes, confirm.
Yeah, I'll work without the mouse. I don't know what's wrong with it. But
If you can
so
enlarge the
welcome
screen
to
more.
yeah, just 90 seconds.
Okay.
So you are welcome to the third class of standard costing and variance analysis. We've had two classes prior to today on this same topic, but in the previous one, in the first one, we talked about standard costing, and the second one we talked about we started variance analysis, which we were able to look at material and labor variances. And like I mentioned, I said labor variance and variable overhead are the same. The only difference is that variable overhead does not have idle time. I mean, nobody in their right sense will on a machine and say the machine is idle. So the only thing the best option is just turn off the machine. So there is no point you turning on machine and saying, oh, because there is no material to put in the machine, you just left the machine there to be running, and it doesn't work that way. So variable overhead, I oftentimes or most of the time does not, or even say ideally should not have idle time. So just keep past all these ones that we have talked about. And if you are not seeing the screen clearly, share the material prior to the start of the class so you can follow with the material. The only thing we'll be updating now will be the solution to the practice question. So let's just go right into it because I plan to end this class by 8:30 or so. So let's talk about fixed overhead variance. I mean, we mentioned that we have four component of costs when you are talking about your standard costs. We said we have material, or we have the variable overhead. I mean, we have the variable cost and the fixed cost. And then the variable cost is now made up of your direct material, direct labor, and variable overheads. And likewise, we have the fixed cost. And the fixed cost in this sense will be a fixed overhead. Now, fixed overhead is a little bit different, or let me even say it's completely different from what the three other variances. And by the three, I meant material, labor, and variable overhead, because fixed is not you cannot flex a fixed budget. You know, when we were calculating or when we were computing the direct material or direct labor variance, and you get to standard out, we say you should multiply it by the actual. In that sense, you are flexing the budget. But this time we are dealing with something that is fixed. You cannot flex it. It's like a wall. You cannot stretch it. So you just have to, what is fixed is fixed. So normally we have five of them, but I will only be taking four, and of course I'll tell you how you can get the fifth one without any computation. So the first one I will talk about is the fixed overhead expenditure variance. So what is the fixed overhead expenditure variance? Sorry, no, Sirat Saka, do you mean you can't see my screen, or oh, sorry. Never mind. Never mind. I think she's still um okay. So what I meant by fixed production overhead expenditure, we said it's very easy to calculate. It is simply simply the difference between your budgeted fixed production overhead and the actual fixed production overhead. You don't need to do much of calculation. Just look for the question. What was the total budgeted fixed overhead? Once you get it, subtract what you actually spent. It is as simple as ABC. So all the two figures should be given in the question, and if not, you might have to calculate it, but they will tell you how to get the two figures one way or the other. So you don't need much calculation. You just want to see the difference between what you budgeted and what you actually spent. So the second thing here is the fixed production overhead volume variance. So more like the volume variance. So what's the volume variance saying? So the volume variance measures the amount of fixed overhead under or over absorbed because of the fact that actual production differs from the budgeted production volume. Now, I'm not sure, but I want to believe that all of us here are not new to the concept of under or over absorption. And for the sake of those that are new, let me try to explain. So, what under and over absorption simply means is, let's say, you have, you want to make your, which example will be the easier one? Okay, let's say you plan to stay, you are going on a vacation, and then you said to yourself, oh, I think I'll be spending um 30 or say 10 days on this vacation. You have some variable cost, and at the same time you have some fixed costs. Your, let's say your variable might be the food you eat, maybe water you drink or so, but the fixed one will be your hotel cost or your cost of accommodation per night. That one is fixed. Once you negotiate the price, it is done. So when you are doing your budget, you said, oh, for the 10 days I should spend um what do we call it? I should spend 100,000. That's it's a price of 10,000 per night. So in your budget, you already included accommodation as 100,000. Now, the moment the number of days you used in that hotel changes, you will now have to recompute. Did you under or over absorb your fixed expenditure? Now you can maybe say you got a bargain and say, oh, please, I'm staying for 10 days. Maybe the manager could just said, oh, since you are staying for 10 days, maybe we can give you 1 day free. So pay 90,000 instead. So when you say you are paying 90,000 instead. So when you go back to your budget, you feel like, oh, if I'm spending 90,000 for 10 days, so it means my actual fixed cost per day should be 9,000 and not 10,000. So in that case, we can say in your budget, you have over absorbed your fixed cost. That is, you have budgeted more than what it should be. And second, in the budget, let's assume you got there and they told you it's now 11,000. Eventually, you spent 210. So we say in your budget, you have under absorbed. Now, note that the reversal is the case for the actual. So when if you are looking at it from the angle of the actual, it will be the reversal. So in the when you spend more in the actual, you say it is over absorption, and if you are looking at it for at the 90,000, you say it's an under absorption. But that is not where we are going. I just had to chip that in. So now for fixed overhead volume variance, the answer is, the formula is budgeted production units minus actual production limits, all multiplied by your standard fixed overhead rate per unit. So you check how many nights do I plan to spend. Now that's the what do we call it? The 10 days. So you now check, oh, how many days did I eventually spend? Yeah, I spent just maybe 9 days. So you multiply it again by your standard 10,000 naira per unit. So you see, oh, that means I should be saving 10,000 naira. But if the actual, let's say the actual is 11 and you spent 10 and you budgeted for 10 days. So in this case, you will have an adverse variance. And don't forget our concept of knowing when it is adverse or favorable. So, in your initial budget, you plan to spend 10 days in the hotel. But once you spend 9, so it means that you are keeping change for the one day. So you will definitely have a favorable variance. Um, sorry, sorry. It is the reversal. When you are dealing with fixed overhead, I forgot to mention that one. It works almost like opposite of the previous two. This thing you did was fixed. It's just like you are paying in advance. So you already paid 10,000 or you already paid 100,000. So when you did not use up to your budget, you are just wasting capacity. So in that case, we say it is adverse. I think this will be best when we get to solutions. You will understand better because it's almost the same thing as this capacity variance here. You can see somewhere down here that we have almost the same thing, just the difference is one is in units and the other one is in hours. So we'll talk about that majorly when we get to the example. So let me just talk about the fixed production overhead efficiency variance. So this one works exactly the same way labor variance works. So it works exactly the same way, in the sense that what was I saying? You just want to check how efficient were your labor, how efficient were they, or your fixed overhead absorption, how efficient was it done? Say for a meeting you were supposed to use 9 days, you used 8 days. It means you are efficient and that time you are saving money. So in that case, we say you have a favorable one. And this standard hours remains the same or true. So the formula for calculating our standard hours remains your standard hour per unit multiplied by your actual production. I think I mentioned it somewhere. Uh, yeah. Yeah. So you can see. Let me try to put this. Sorry. So that when you Reading, you will know it's a formula. So standard hours for direct labor, you might want to note this, maybe in your head or something. Standard hours for direct labor, standard hours for variable overhead, and standard hours for fixed overhead are all the same. They don't change. Once you calculate one, you don't need to calculate for the remaining two, because yeah, you will get the same answer. So that one, it just works like your direct labor variance. Now this is the last one where it gets interesting. So this is, I mean, I'm talking about the fixed overhead capacity variance now. This is the difference between the budgeted and actual hours. Now note that it is only when you are dealing with fixed overhead that your sorry, what is this? That your actual, I mean, that your standard hours, or when you see budgeted and standard, they will be different. When you're dealing with direct labor, we're dealing with direct material, dealing with variable overhead, I can interchange standard and budgeted. They will practically mean the same thing. But when you're talking about fixed overhead, they are completely different. So don't mix that up. Because if you look at fixed overhead efficiency variance and fixed overhead capacity variance, the formulas are the same. The only difference is one is standard hours and one is budgeted hours. Now, the difference will be that, you know, when we were calculating the standard hours, we multiplied by the actual production. But if you are calculating your budgeted hours, you multiply it again by your budgeted production. This time, not the actual. So you said, oh, I plan to use, don't let me use service, or let me use a stay. Let's say we said we've looked at, what do I put now? I think someone was producing purple for something in the last class. Okay, let me just say, you said for me to produce 30 purples, I need to rent a fry pan from a friend or so. And the friend said to rent this fry pan, will collect 3,000 naira from you. You know, that is fixed. And the fry pan during that 3,000, I mean, you have at the cost of 3,000, it can give you as high as 30 per puff. So in your mind, you will just note that, oh, so that means if I'm to calculate the cost of getting this fry pan on the 30 per puffs, I know I'm spending 100 naira as the cost of fry pan on each. Is it 100 naira or 10? Yeah, it's 100. So when you do that, you psychologically knows that for each puff puff, the fixed cost per unit will be 100 naira. So in that way, you'll be able to account for the cost of the fry pan. Of course, we all have to agree that you have to include it in your cost. So now, when we are now dealing with the actuals, now let's say eventually you were able, so instead of getting will units do, I want to get an example that will capture this thing very, very, very well. Wow, yep. I get another example. So let's create another example. I don't want to use units because it doesn't speak to hours as I wanted it to do. Now you want your staffs, or you want to rent a person to do maybe copywriting or write a journal for you. And the person said, oh, for every hour I should be able to do 10 pages of copywriting or typing or typesetting or whatever you want to do. I should be able to do 10 for you. And remember, you have to rent a typewriter for the person. So the person felt like, oh, I can type 10. Oh yeah, I can type 10 pages for every hour. And you looked at the maybe textbook or the write-up you want to type out is say 100 pages. So you should know that I should be needing 10 hours of this guy's time. So it means that you typing 10 pages per hour, then multiply by 10, you should be able to get the 100 pages done. Now that is your budget. Eventually, the guy did the work in say 90 hours. You remember we said the standard hour per paper should be 10 for 10 pages for an hour. So if the guy is able to do 100 in I don't want to use the standard. I don't want to come back to the standard. Let's say he was able to undo 200 in 180 hours. Yeah, that makes more sense. He was able to undo 200 in 180 hours. Now I'm extending it to 200. So you want to check what is the standard hours. So how many hours was he supposed to use ideally to type 200 pages? So in that case, you go back to your standard hour per unit. So you say 10 for 1. So ideally, since he's typing 200 pages, is expected to use 20 hours. So that is the standard hours. That's what he is supposed to use. But actually, he was able to do it in say he was able to do it in 180 hours, like I mentioned. So in that case, you know that you now have a favorable variance because what he was supposed to do in 20 hours, he was able to do it in 18 hours. He was able to do 200 pages in 18 hours. So you have a favorable variance. But when you now come to the capacity will now be looking at in your budget. How many hours did you budget for the guy? Now, let's say when I was doing my budget, I said, this guy said he can do 10 in 1 hour. He can do 10 in 1 hour, but I doubt him. I don't trust him. Let me rent this typewriter for 22 hours. So you are trying to like create time for, let's say it slows down or something. You actually rented that typewriter for 22 hours. Remember, our actual hours used was 18 hours, and we said he typed 200 pages, which he was supposed to do normally in 200 hours. So but we from our own end, we rented the typewriter at 22 hours. Now, when you want to now check your capacity variance, you want to see, oh, I budgeted that this guy should use max 22 hours. But turns out that the guy used just 18 hours. So you multiply that by your standard rate, you less your actual hours from your budgeted hours. Now, the two of them, the efficiency and the capacity variance are word and opposite when it comes to favorable and adverse. Now I will explain why. If you paid somebody you would say, oh, I'll be paying you per hour. You are supposed to do this work in 20 hours. But somehow, the person did it in 18 hours. You'll be happy because the person just saved you 2 hours of pay. You get to pay the person 18 hours and you'll be done. That is what the efficiency variance is talking about. So we want to know if our labor are efficient. But for capacity, I rented typewriter for 22 hours. You now use 18 hours and you say you are done. My guy, what should happen to the remaining 4 hours? Okay, you will continue to type for the remaining 4 hours because you will not allow me to waste the 4 hours. That is going to be adverse for you because you have made provision for 22 hours, but the actual hours now is 4. in that case, there will be free capacity that will be wasted. So that time it is going to be adverse for you. But now let's say you rented the um what do I call it? Now I want to change the actual to, let's say you eventually now use 24 hours. I'm changing it from 18. Now standard hours. Now I'm going back to efficiency variance. Now the standard hours remains 20 hours. You are supposed to use 20 hours for this job, but you use 24 hours. Now in that case, it's going to be an adverse, because I mean, what were you doing with the remaining extra 4 hours? You were just wasting my time, because I want to pay you per hour. So in that case, it is going to be an adverse to you. But on the other end, which is the capacity variance, you rented a typewriter for 22 hours, or you budgeted 22 hours. Somehow, the person was able to use it for 22 hours. I mean, that's free 2 hours that you will not be paying for. So in that case, it is going to be favorable to you. So you can see that the work as word and opposite, they are adverse in nature. I mean, so that is that for the 4 variances. Now I mentioned that they were supposed to be 5. The last one is the fixed overhead cost variance. Now just for noting sake, it works. The formula is standard fixed overhead minus actual fixed overhead, but they simply put it is just the addition of the fixed overhead expenditure variance and the fixed overhead volume variance. When you add these two, you will get your answer. So you might not need to cram the formula to get the formula, but for formula sake, just in case if you want it, it is standard, just like the expenditure variance, but the difference now is it is going to be the standard fixed overhead, not the budgeted fixed overhead. So that is that about the fixed overhead variance. So moving on to practice question. Does anybody have any question before we move to practice question? Sure. Do I see any hand up? Oh, Daniel Joseph. Okay. Daniel Joseph, you have the floor. I cannot hear you if you are saying anything. Outside, Sabu.
Yes, sir. Sir, please said something plus something would be equals to the fixed production overhead capacity variance. Please, can you
You
just
know
take
what?
that?
Don't let us go over that. At the end of the whole advanced variance lecture, and when we get to the next class, we'll be talking about advanced variance. So I will give you a sheet, or like a formula that will tell you the variance that you can add together to get another variance. We have a lot of them actually, so you still come back. You will get the full list of all of them at the end of the day. So yeah.
Oh, thank you.
But for saying sake, it is the volume variance and the expenditure variance. When you add the two, you will get your fixed overhead costs variance. Okay, Elizabeth, we'll only take one more after Elizabeth. Elizabeth, I don't think she. Who else? Oh, Elizabeth was asking to admit, not raising hands. Oh, Chukwemeka.
Hello,
Chukwemeka.
sir.
Yeah, I can hear
Yes,
you.
sir. So my question was that so the only difference between budgeted and standard hours is just that budgeted is you wait for it, but standard is that you're expecting it.
Sorry, come again.
Like budgeted hours, the difference between budgeted hours and standard hours is that standard hours you are expecting that this is the amount of time to do something. Why budgeted hours? You actually like paid for it.
No,
Like, is
no.
that the difference?
Let me explain that again. I don't think I get your explanation, but let me explain again to see if we are saying the same thing. So what budgeted hour and standard hour is saying is that now for budgeted at the beginning when you are doing your budget, you said I want to do 20 of this thing and it should take me 1 hour for each. Your budgeted hours will be 20 hours, no matter what you do eventually. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Now for standard, now the moment you actually changed, instead of you doing 20, in your budget, you say you want to do 20 for 1 hour each and you budgeted for 20 hours. But eventually you say, oh, since I can do 20, I mean, let me just do 25 instead. The moment you change it to 25, now your standard hour will now be saying that instead of you doing 20, in our budget, we said 20. But now that you have changed it to 25, how many hours were you supposed to use for that 25? According to our budget, you said you are using 1 hour per uh, unit that you want to produce. So now that you are producing 25, our standard is now saying that you should have used 25. But if I'm talking about budgeted hours, the budgeted hours will still be based on the 20 that I initially budgeted for. So your budgeted hours will still remain 20 hours. Now, do you understand me now? So standard hours is just that
Okay.
it's flexible. Standard
Yes,
hours is saying
yes, yes,
now that
yes.
you are doing this, how many were you supposed to use? But budgeted hours is saying what was your initial plan? Is sticking to whatsoever you planned in the first phase. So that is the difference between the two.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, I
So yeah,
understand
let's
very well. Thank you.
thank you. So let's quickly see through this practice question. Then we'll go to variance. Hopefully, we'll be able to take the practice question that is in here. So we said a company budgeted to make 5,000 units of a single standard product in year one. The budgeted direct labor hours are 10,000 hours. Budgeted fixed production overhead is 40,000. But the actual production for year one was 5,200 units. They eventually did it for 10,250 hours of work. And fixed overhead production overhead was 40,500. So the question said, calculate the fixed overhead variance. Now, simple as it can be. I mean, the first one is always very, very clear to get. So, which is the first one should be fixed overhead. What was that again? Expenditure. So, and the formula says that it should be your budgeted overhead minus your actual overhead, right? So if you go back to the question, what did the question say? The question said our budget. We said budgeted fixed production overhead is 40,000, and what was the actual? 40,500. As simple as that. So why is my mouse hanging for Christ's sake? What have I done to you? So again, from the budget, we said we have 40,000 and they eventually spent 40,500, and that should be giving us 500 adverts.
Is it just me or has he left the class?
I see your screen. Oh.
Same here.
Same
So we
here.
can see your
Same
screen.
here. Probably it's network.
I don't think he's seeing
I
this.
think he has left. Network.
It's network.
I don't
Just
understand.
hold on for him. He said something. He said his mouse was hanging. Just hold on.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
I don't know what's wrong with
Yes.
my. I don't know if it's my mouse or the laptop itself. So, from what I had, you guys lost me when I said my mouse was hanging. Is that correct?
Yes.
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 What's wrong this evening? The moment I start sharing my screen, everything just. Or is a lie? There was a lie. Let's see if it's better now. It's not better. It's the same. But can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can.
Please hold on.
But you are not sharing anything. Yes.
I'm not sharing anything,
No, sir.
but I can see my
I
screen.
can see your screen now.
I
No,
can
I
see
can see your screen. I can see your screen.
I can see your screen.
We can see your screen.
Maybe you can just refresh your network or something.
Oh, I can see now. I can see now. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, I didn't know I was kicked out, but I've done this. So from the question, we can see that they budgeted to spend 40,000 and they spent 40,500. Automatically means they are spending extra 500, which to us is definitely an adverse variance. So the second one is going to be the fixed overhead volume variance, and this one is can I just copy typing don't want to. What have I done to this mess? Not standard. Sure, let's copy it. So yeah, we're talking about the budgeted units minus the actual units, all multiplied by I think the standard rates per unit. So and this we can go back to our question. So we are looking for three things in our question. We are looking for the budgeted units, we are looking for the actual unit, and we're also looking for the standard rates per unit. And don't forget, the standard rates per unit will be your budgeted rates per unit. It should be that one will be found in the budget. So now let's go. The first thing, the budgeted units. From the look of things, our budgeted unit is 5,000 units because they said the company budgeted to make 5,000 units. That is not debatable. So we are looking for the actual units. Go down the question, you will see the actual production in year one was 5,200 units. So we have two of the three things that we need. So now the third thing that we need is the standard rate per unit. Now you want to check. We said we want to make 5,000 units, and we said in total we plan to spend 40,000 on fixed overhead. How much do we plan to spend on a unit? So simply put, you divide your total by the unit. So we can do 40,000, which is what we budgeted to spend on 5,000 units. You divide by 5,000 units, and you will get that should be 8 naira per unit. 8 naira per unit. So we can now
Please
come here
come
to
again with that explanation.
Yes, sir.
uh,
Please explain that part again.
That standard rates per unit, that one.
for to start with the okay, I don't want you to do this. Sure. Sorry. To navigate my mouse is toggle for now. Okay. We all agree with the 5,000 minus 5,200, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. So now you want to ask yourself, we said in our budget that our production will be 5,000 units. Now I'm sticking to just the budget. I don't have anything to do with the actual. Or let's I don't want to switch to the call. The person that asked the question, let's interact a bit. What would you like to produce? Just one person can just unmute.
Bread.
Ah,
Bread.
you said what? Bread.
Yes, bread.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, bread. Bread is fine. I mean, I like bread. So now, I'm pushing it to you now. You want to make 5,000 bread, but unfortunately, you don't have oven. You want to make 5,000 bread. So, but you contacted your friend or maybe one of your supplier or anything. You said, "Oh, please, I want to rent oven for a day." Mind you, you just want to produce 5,000 bread. But he said, "Oh, I want to rent your oven for a day." And the guy said, or the lady said, "All right, it's fine. Bring 40,000 for it." So that means your oven is now, in this case, the fixed overhead. So he said, bring 40,000 for it. And you want to produce 5,000. So me as a third party or as a neutral person, I came to you and said, "Oh, to produce one bread, how much did you spend on oven?" Now, I don't care. I'm not talking about 5,000 breads now. I just want to know, just one bread, how much did you spend on oven? So you will look at it and say, "Oh, since I spent 40,000 to produce 5,000, how much is one?" You do division. I mean, you spread the 40,000 on the 5,000 in such that when you multiply it at the end of the day, you should come back to your 40,000. So initially, you do what we call division. You allocate it per unit. So since 40,000 is giving you 5,000 bread, so definitely 8 naira is for a single bread. Because if you reverse at the end of the day and say, since it is 5,000 multiplied by 8 naira per unit, you should arrive at the total that you spent, which is 40,000. Now, do you understand it now? So in general, to everyone now, when you are moving back from total to per unit, you just divide the two. But if you are moving from per unit to total, of course, you multiply. So do we all understand?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No, sir.
I
Sir,
was scared.
can you please say that again?
Okay.
Thanks.
When you are moving from total to per unit, I'm saying you spent, okay, let's bring it to little figure then. We want to do 5 things. We are saying, "Oh, I want to buy 5 dress." I'm telling you that to buy 5, 5 is 10,000. So in your mind, you say that if 5 is 1,000, so that means this person wants to sell one for me at how much?
At 2,000.
At 2,000. And how did I get the 2,000? I quickly I did the division in my head. Since he's selling 5 for me at 10,000, so it means that one is 10 divided by the 5. So you will get 2,000. So that's basically what we did there. So we just divide the total amount we spent, which is the 40,000, by the number of bread we made, which is 5,000. So we should get 8 naira per unit. Do we all get now? So 8 naira per unit. I don't know how clear this is, but so what should be our answer?
1,600.
So according to him, he said
1,600 advance.
now good. Good. The answer, sorry, is favorable. Now it's favorable because now this is different from capacity. It is capacity that you have, assuming it is sorry, what was I saying? Don't let me mix it up. Fixed overhead. Yeah, sorry, it's favorable in the sense that we got more than what we budgeted to do. So in that case, we are getting more value than what we should have gotten. We should have gotten 5,000, but somehow we got 8,000. I mean, we got 5,200, and in this sense should be favorable. Should we? What is happening to this thing today? I'm so sick of it. Please, I need to. I'm so sick of this thing.
Is it that you
Pardon me
restart
for
your
it.
system, sir?
Yeah, that might be my last option, but I don't want to stop the class is the problem. But let me try and see if I can get a makeshift.
Hello, sir. You still there?
Just hold on, hold on. He's saying something about his mouse. Hold on.
Yeah, so sorry. I had to restart my system. It's, it's getting worse. I could not even move my system at all. I mean, so give me a minute to share my screen. Hopefully all our hard work has not disappeared. Um, why will you choose now holidays in this life to update? Why is my PowerPoint updating? Why? Microsoft will update. So sorry, there will be a little bit um alteration to how the class have been going. I don't know, somehow my PowerPoint just decided to just shut me off. I don't have access to the files again. And thankfully I've shared the PDF earlier. So I'll be using the PDF, but I'll be doing the solution on a new Excel sheet. And at the end of the class, I will try to figure what the problem is and match them. I think that should work just fine. So I might need you all to maybe you have to follow the questions from your PDF, and then I will be I will just be reading the question, and the solution is the only thing that will be displayed until maybe I have to go back to the PDF itself. So I think that should work for now. I think the PowerPoint was the issue right from start, so I don't know what happened. So let me share this empty screen. Oh, it's crazy, Sha. This is what they call weapon fashion against. Oh, it's fine. We will be fine. Yeah, it will not prosper. Okay, so let's just continue. I'm just insert this. So I think we are done with the first question, which is the one that talked about the fixed overhead. What was it? The fixed overhead expenditure variance. Do I need to do that again? Fixed overhead expenditure variance.
I think we are done with that one.
Yeah, I just want to rewrite it out so I know. So we'll come back to that. I will fill in myself later. The second one was fixed overhead volume variance. Volume variance. And we said that was I think 5,000 units less 5,200 multiplied by 8 naira per unit, which you said was 1,600. Yeah, I'm thinking that's where we'll stop. So to continue, so please refer to your PDF for the question.
200 has extra zeros.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, refer to your PDF for the question. The solution will continue to be displayed here. So the third question now, the third variance that we will compute is what we call the fixed overhead efficiency variance. And if you remember, we said that works exactly like our labor efficiency variance. So we can say that is going to be our standard hours minus actual hours, all multiplied by our standard rates per hour, multiplied by standard rates per hour. Good. So now going back to the question. Now, in this question, we were not given the standard hours. The only thing we have there is the budgeted and the actual hours worked. The budgeted hours was 10,000 hours, while the actual hours was 10,250 hours. So we want to know now, we want to calculate how are we supposed to get our standard. Remember the concept of flexing, just like I mentioned earlier, you want to flex it. So if 10,000 hours was going to give us 5,000 units, now how many hours were we supposed to use for a single unit? Remember, for you to get standard, you have to start with you have to get your standard hours per unit first. So in this case, we can say our standard hour per unit is just going to be our total budgeted hours to be divided by our budgeted units. So if we are saying 10,000 hours should give us 5,000 units. So that means we should be able to do 1 in 2 hours. That will be 2 hours. So we are saying that to produce 1 unit, we need 2 hours. So to produce 2, we need 4. To produce 5, we need 10. Likewise, to produce 5,000, we need 10,000 hours. So we have successfully gotten our standard rate hours per unit. Now, we don't want to know per unit. We are not calculating per unit now. We now want to get the total standard hours. So here's where we bring in the flexibility. So we said in our budget, 2 hours for 5,000 units should give us 10,000. Now that we are no longer doing with 5,000 units, we now want to produce, or we now eventually produce 5,200 units. How many hours were we supposed to use? So in that case, we say, remember the formula, standard hours is equals to standard hours per unit multiplied by actual production. I want to believe we did not forget this. So in essence, we can have 2 hours to be multiplied by, we eventually produce 5,200 units. So in that case, we should have 10,400 hours. Correct. So now we can go back to computing our fixed overhead efficiency variance. So going back to the initial, I think I should widen this. Is it okay like this? Can you see better?
Mr.
Yes,
Ola,
sir.
please, do you record this class?
Yeah, the class is always recorded.
Okay. Thank you.
It's always recorded. So yeah. Okay. I think it should be better now, especially for those on YouTube. So our fixed overhead efficiency variance, remember the formula remains this. So this is still our formula. So we can now, since we now have everything we need, we said our standard hours should be 10,400. So you want to check how many hours did we use. So from the question, if you are following, the question said we use how many hours again? Let's see who is following.
10,250.
10.
So the question said we use 10,250. Remember, we've calculated our standard rate per unit somewhere here. So you can just bring it down. No. Sorry. My bad. This is per unit. This is per unit. Don't forget. Don't mix it up. Now we are using standard rate per hour. They are two different things. So just like I mentioned earlier, don't mix per unit and per hour. Though we will still get the two the same way. You know, initially, when we were computing standard rate per unit, we divided 40,000, which is the total we plan to spend, by the number of units. But now we don't need per unit again. We need per hour. So what do? We, instead of dividing by the number of units, we just divide by the number of hours. So when we were looking for per unit, we divided 40,000 by 5,000 units. But now I need per hour. So I will divide that same 40,000 by 10,000 hours. So in this case, I should have 4 naira per hour. Per hour. Do we understand?
Excuse me, sir. Please, how do we have the 4 naira, please?
Great. Do you understand how I got these 8 units initially?
I think,
Yes,
sir,
it's the
I
standard
think,
rate per unit.
Yes, sir.
sir, try to be showing the workings of those strategic figures in case of
Okay,
revisions.
let's just bring it up. So, standard rates per hour should just be just the same way we get for the units. So we have a total budgeted fixed overhead divided by your budgeted hours now. Instead of budgeted units, it is now going to be your budgeted hours. So, and that should be 40,000 naira. So be divided by 10,000 hours. And that should give us 4. Is it clear now? So it is
Yes,
this
it's clear.
4. So it's this 4 that we're bringing down here. And if you do your mathematics, you should have 150 multiplied by 4, which should be 600 naira favorable. Now, how is it favorable? Why is it favorable? It is favorable because you were supposed to use 10,400 to make this 5,200 units, but somehow you were able to use 10,250. It means that you are very, very efficient. So in that case, it is a favorable variance. What I'm supposed to pay you for 10,400 hours, I now have to pay you for just 10,250 hours. You are helping me to keep money. So thank you very much. And I will have a favorable variance. Remember, we said this was favorable. So now coming down to the last one, which is our fixed overhead. That should be capacity. Our capacity leader. That's capacity variance. So I can just copy this, paste here. But what I want to do is change this to budgeted. All right, that was the formula. If you do remember. So like I mentioned earlier, the difference between them is one is standard, one is budgeted. They have the same formula aside for that. So we want to go back to our question again to see how many hours did they budget for
10,000.
initially. So the question said the budgeted hours was 10,000 units, and eventually they still used 10,250 again to be multiplied by 4 naira per unit. And now we are having 1,000 naira. 1,000 naira. Now this also will be favorable. So for sake of re-explanation, we are seeing this capacity, we are seeing it as if you have paid. So you paid for 10,000 hours. You said, oh, I'm using 10,000 hours in this space. But somehow you were able to use 10,250 hours. So it means you are getting extra 250 hours that you did not pay for. So in that case, it is favorable to you. Do we all understand that? Do we understand?
Yes,
I
sir.
want to be okay. So now, if you want to be double sure, if you want to be sure that you are correct, anytime you add your capacity, this control B, and your efficiency variance, and you did not get the exact figure you got for volume, just know that something is wrong somewhere. So for a quick check, 600 favorable plus 1,000 favorable should definitely get you 1,600 favorable. So the two of them adds up to give you volume variance, efficiency, and capacity. So that's another chipping. Though, like I mentioned, I will give you the full list of the variance that you can add together to get another one. So and that speaks to what do we call it now? Speaks to
Sir, can you please come again?
come again for which part?
You said you are going to minus
No, I did
OY.
not mention. I did not mention minus. I just said when you add your capacity variance and your efficiency variance, you should get a volume variance. You should get that same figure. If you do not get it, something is wrong in your solution. All right. That
Excuse
talks
me,
about the
sir.
last. Yep.
Sir, the same
Go on, go
method
on.
we have. Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you.
The same method we used to arrive at this our 4 per hour. Is it the same method we used to get this 8 naira?
Yeah. The only difference was to get the 8 naira, we used the number of units. But this time we are using the number of hours. You know, the 8 naira was 8 naira per unit.
Yes.
Now the 4 naira is 4 naira per hour. So yeah, that's why the figures are different.
Thank you, sir.
So yeah, I'm switching back to the PDF because we have to talk about sales variance. Okay, let's quickly brush through this. So the sales variance, I mean, we are done with the cost variance, at least the basics. We are done with that one. So let's quickly brush through the sales variance. It's not really that much of an issue. So the sales variance is just that the same way you can have issue when you are talking about costs. You can say, oh, this is how much I want to spend, but this is how much I spent. The same way you can have variance or issue with your sale. You can say, oh, I plan to sell 5,000 units at the end of the day, but somehow you're only able to sell 4,000, or by your efficiency, you are able to sell 7,000. So you can also have variance when it comes to sales. So again, for sales, we have what we call the sales price variance or the sales volume variance. Now note that everything that we're talking about are the basic variance. Now when I get to advanced variance, I will tell you when to use advanced and when to use the basic. But for now, let's just continue with the sales variance, because you can also have what we call sales quantity variance, but all those ones are advanced. So let's stick to this for now. So when we talk about the sales price variance, is the same way as the material variance. It's the same thing as the material price variance. And if you remember under know your, what do you call it again? Know your genotype. We said anywhere you see price or rate, you know that it is AS minus A. So look at it here again. Sorry, what did I write here? Sorry. This is definitely a mistake. Oh, I will have to change this. This is definitely 100% a mistake. The formula here, I will have to change it later. So it is actual quantity times standard price minus actual price times actual quantity. I even flipped it. It is AS minus E, not this that I have here. I don't know what happened here. But the price variance is just saying what is the price that you plan to sell and what is the price that you eventually sold at. So you can just stick to the AS minus A And while for volume variance, now volume variance is just trying to check, you said you want to sell 20 units. How many units did you sell? So we are trying to check what is the variance between your budgeted units and your actual units. I notice there's nothing like a standard unit here. It is just budgeted and actual. So budgeted and actual. Now, this brings us to an entirely new concept, which is the standard profit or contribution per unit. I want to believe we all know how to, if you ask you to get your profit or you get your contribution, you know what the difference is. So profit includes fixed costs while contribution does not. So your contribution is just your selling price minus your variable cost, while the profit is selling price minus variable and also less your fixed cost. Now, when do you know when to use either of the two? Of course, I mentioned it in the first class when we talked about what was that? When we talk about standard costing, when to use uh, contribution per unit and when to use profit per unit. So if the question is tilting towards marginal costing, so you know you are using contribution. But if the question talked about absorption costing, then you know you are expected to use standard profit, because then you have to make use of your fixed cost. So that's just that for sales variance. So let's quickly look at practice question. Let's look at this. So they said a company budgets to sell 7,000 units of products P456. It uses standard absorption costing system. So that should tell you that whenever you are doing your calculation at the end of the day, you are expected to use standard profit per unit and not standard contribution per unit. So because the question said it is standard absorption costing. And then the standard selling price is 15 naira per unit, and the standard cost per unit it should be 42 naira. Now, eventually, the actual sales was 7,200, sold for 3,500 and 1,004 sorry, 351,400 naira. So the question is calculate the sales price variance as well as the sales volume variance. Eludira Johnson, your hand is raised. Do you have a question? Okay, his hand is down. How about Tamabo Friday? Friday. Not sure I pronounce your first name correctly, but Friday, do you have a question? Okay. Chukwemeka, you just raised your hand now. You have a question?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Concerning that sales price variance, you said that you will correct the formula.
Yeah, I'm currently using PDF, so I cannot edit this right now. When I'm
Okay, so
sending
you meant actual quantity times standard price
it's
minus
actual quantity times standard price. Yeah, exactly. It's AS minus AA, so
okay.
actual quantity times standard price minus actual quantity times actual price. Yeah, I will
Okay, sir.
correct that. Yeah,
Okay, sir, no
thank you.
problem, sir.
Okay, so let's go back to our solution sheet. I mean, this thing is stressing me, but um, my PowerPoint decided to act up. Is that a problem? Where are we? I think it should be. So confirm I'm back to the solution screen.
Yeah, back.
Yes, yeah.
So let's just do the second. Let's quickly brush through the second one. I also have access to it myself. Okay. So to get our selling price, our sales price variance, we said is equals to AS minus AA, which is actual quantity times standard price minus, so who is that? Kindly meet yourself. Actual quantity times actual price. So a quick look at our question. So for this question, our actual quantity, which in this case is going to be our actual sales, is 7,200 units. 7,200 units. So we can say our actual is 7,200 units multiplied by the standard price, which is our budgeted price. We said our budgeted price was going to be 50 naira. So 50 naira. And now we want to subtract our actual quantity times actual price from this. And remember, I told you that anytime they give you your actual sales or your actual cost in a total figure like this, you don't need to look for your actual price per unit again. Just copy and paste the figure. Just copy and paste it. So just bring it here as 351,400. If there's going to be an exception to that, maybe if you find a question, maybe, but I'm not sure there's supposed to be an exemption. Okay. So what do we have here? What should we have? What should be the answer? 7,200 times 100 should be 720, and that should be 360. So 360,000 minus 351, that should be 14,600, if I'm correct. Kindly do the calculation. Let's see. Am I still on the call?
Yes.
Yes,
No,
it's
it's 600.
8,600.
You said? Oh, there's 400 at the back.
8,600, sir.
Oh, yes, I forgot there's a 400 at the back. Okay. So now,
not 48,000.
is
8,000.
it 8? Just 8.
Yes, just 8.
Surprise. Oh, 360,000. Yeah, 360. I'm still using 360. Yeah, correct. So 8,600. So we want to check, is this a favorable or adverse? Now this works in the opposite way to material price and labor rate, because this time, then you are the one spending, so you always want to spend lesser. But now you are the one earning. You will never in this life want to earn lesser. You always want to earn more. But in your budget, you said you will earn 360,000, but you eventually earned 351,400. So that is definitely an adverse, because it will take away from your profit, it will take away from your money. So that is why it is adverse. But if you earn more than you are supposed to, it is favorable to you, because of course you are not going to throw the money away. So that is adverse for us. So for the second one, which is going to be the sales volume variance. The sales volume variance, like we said, um sales volume variance, that should be budgeted units minus actual units. And since we are dealing with the absorption costing, remember it is standard profit per unit we are dealing with. Okay, I'm having two questions on YouTube. Sorry. Let me read that out. So first question, please. Oh, is this really a question? Please, I'm begging, if it will be possible to finish one chapter before the next lecturer takes up the next chapter. I don't think that would be a good option, because imagine I have to wait till the first lecturer finish the first topic. That would mean a lecturer will have to engage you maybe more than once or two, three times in a week. And don't forget, we all have other things that we are doing. So it has to be like this at least for a while. So it's you that you have to manage your time efficiently. You know that every Thursday this is the topic we are taking. Every Monday this is the topic we are taking. So I think that speaks to that. And someone said, why do we have to use 351,400 straight up? Why not divide by the actual sales? I mean, if you divide by the actual sales, you still come back and multiply it again, and at the end of the day, still get the same 351,400. So there is no point to do that. If I divide 351,400 by 32, I will get the figure. Fine. And I'll still come back here again and do 7,200 multiplied by the figure. I'm still coming back to the 351,400. So that is that. And please, how did we get 351,400? It is exactly the figure we have in the question. You can check the question. The 351,400 was provided. So sorry, I just had to not to let people that are on YouTube. So the sales volume variance, we said the budgeted units. Now from the budget, how many units was planned to be sold? We can see that they planned to sell 7,000 units, right? But somehow they were able to sell 7,200 units. Now multiply by standard profits per unit. Now at the top of my head, I would do the breakdown, but I can see it is 8 naira. But let's come down here and see our standard profits per unit is definitely going to be our selling price, or sales minus cost, which of course is 15 naira according to the question. The selling price, the budgeted selling price is 15 naira, while the budgeted cost is 42 naira. That's how I got the 8 naira. So this right here is going to give us how much? I think that's 1,600.
1,600.
So 1,600, but this time is going to be favorable because you planned to sell 7,000 units, but you were lucky. You were able to sell 7,200. You will not get sad. You will definitely be happy because more units should definitely mean more profit. So that is that. The sales variance is actually a straightforward and simple one, at least the basic one, though. Yeah, I think that's all about the question. So, does anybody have any questions concerning sales variance? We will not be able to take question. And again, today's Thursday, I would throw a poll on the group, maybe tonight, or I'll try to do it tonight. If we can have a class on say Sunday or Saturday, because I feel we'll take too many weeks on this variance analysis at this pace. Because we still have to talk about variance. We need at least 2 more classes on variance, and it's not efficient to use for a whole month to take one topic. So I might need to introduce, say, one more day, maybe Saturday or a Sunday, but that will be based on decision. So again, does anybody have any question on sales variance?
Yes, sir. I have a question, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Please, can you explain the reason why it is adverse for the sales price variance? I didn't get it.
Of course. I mean, let me ask you, when you were planning, you are making your plan, you said this thing, by the grace of God, I will sell it for 50 there. That was your plan. So, and by our calculation, you plan to sell you sold 7,200. So you were supposed to sell it for, that's 360,000. Shame. If you sell it for the 15 that you planned, but you realize that you sold it for 351,400. Did your money increase or your money reduce? So you can see that it's advance for you. So
thank you, sir.
I think that's the question. Welcome. Beauty Secrets, you have a question?
Yeah,
Good evening, sir.
Okay, let's take Beauty Secrets first. I don't know who the second person is, but let's take Beauty Secrets first. Okay, go on.
So my question is on this sales price variance.
Okay.
Yeah, you said for we to get our AA is actual quantity times actual prices. So I'm wondering what was the formula there, because you know they said which was sold for 351,400. So I was thinking you're supposed to like multiply maybe actual quantity times actual price for we to get our figure. So why are we using 351,400?
Okay. Now let me put it back to you. Now, I said I'm telling you that you sold 10 things for 500 naira. That is the scenario now. You sold 10. What are you selling? Just an example. Do you like to sell anything? Or let me just stick to, you are selling 10 things, or let's use the 10 breads. Oh, you sold 10 breads for 500 naira. Now I'm asking you, how much are you selling a bread? Or how much did you sell the bread?
So it's going to be 500 divided by 10, right? If I'm not mistaken.
That should be 15 naira for the sake of time. 500 divided by 10 should give you 15 naira.
Yeah,
right? You that?
Yes, 15 naira.
Good. Now, but I've given you that information already that you sold 10 for 500. Now, I'm now telling you that, oh, for your sales variance, your price variance, you have to multiply, you have to multiply your actual quantity by your actual price. But I've given you that you sold everything that you sold, which is your actual quantity. Then you sold it for 500. Is there a need, or will it just say, oh, since you said I'm selling the thing for 500, I can just say my actual sale, which is my actual quantity times actual price, is 500. But the other, just like what you are trying to do now, I'll first of all divide 500 by 10 units that I'm selling to get the actual price of 15 naira. Still now come back to the question and multiply the 10, which is the actual quantity again, by the 15 naira that I had to do division to get, and still come back to the original 500 that you were given at the beginning. And so that is why I just picked the 351,400 instead, because if you divide and multiply back, you will still come back to this exact figure. So there was no point to do the division. But if you still want to go ahead and do the division, you can do it. You can try it now. To get the actual price per unit, just divide 351,400 by 7,400 to get your actual price per unit. Come back to the solution, do 7,200 multiplied by whatsoever you get, you will definitely get 351,400. So okay, if Funaya, oh, I think Victor was trying to talk the other time.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Good evening.
Okay. My question is on this sales volume variance.
Yeah.
In the question we just solved, we use the absorption costing, and the total cost. It was just total cost. It was not divided into fixed costs and variable costs. How do we know that this cost now is inclusive of fixed cost?
Okay. So for every question you have, for every PM question, you make do of what you have. So in this case, this is just a name. Since they did not tell me that the total cost is total variable cost or total fixed cost, you can just assume anything for it. I mean, if we want to change the question, there is no way we can get our total contribution or standard contribution in this question. It's not possible because the question did not say anything. So you can as well assume the total cost is inclusive fixed cost. So that's just an assumption. You don't have any other thing to assume. We just
All
keep
right.
it like
Thank you.
that.
Thank
You're
you, sir.
welcome. Does any other person have any question? So
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
sorry, who is that? Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Sir, please, I want to ask, what does this A and F in the answers you got for sales price variance and sales volume variance, what does it stand for?
I want to assume this is your first class, but it simply means adverse and favorable. So one is adverse, that is we are losing money, and one is favorable, we are gaining
All right,
money.
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I got the explanation
So,
for the adverse.
okay.
Sir,
Hello,
this,
sir. Please, I
sir,
have a
hello, sir.
question.
Hey.
Sir, please, this
Sorry to
A
take
and
you back, sir.
AS.
Please, let me call on you before you don't let us model everything up. So, Ifunaya, you can have the floor now.
Yes, sir. I've just asked my question, sir.
Okay, sorry, you can put your hand
Yes,
down.
thank you.
Where was talking? I think it was Friday. Now, where are those that were
I
kept
was
down?
actually asking a question, sir.
Oh, but your hand was not up.
Yes, it's up and I put it down again.
Okay. Go
All
ahead
right,
with your
thank you,
question.
sir. Yeah. Difference in efficiency and capacity variance. Please, can you explain where it has an adverse and the favorable side of it. The first one, I know you said the efficiency has I summarize it like as in a timeless, when it's the you have an adverse variance, and then when the time is full to capacity, you have a favorable variance. But for the second part is what I don't really understand, sir, please.
I
Or if
don't
you
know if
can
it's
go
just
over it
me.
again properly.
I don't know if it's just me, but somehow your network is breaking. I could barely hear you at the critical point of your question, or I could not even hear you at all. So can you take
Okay,
the
I
question
said,
again?
all right. I said, could you explain more on the difference between the efficiency and capacity variance, where you said they are of opposite conclusion?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So to save time, let's just do it this way. I think you still have another class by 9. Might not be everybody though, but who else has any other question? Adewa Monisade.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Well done, sir. Please, I just want you to help me to go back to the question we just solved. I want to screenshot or write it out. The
Everything
question
is
we just solved now.
everything is in a PDF I sent to the class before the class started, so you can just get it there.
Sir, my hand has been up.
And I've been calling you. I haven't thought your hand has been up for a while. Your hand has been up from the beginning of the class, actually. I'm sorry, is that Friday?
Yes, Blessing Friday.
Yeah, your hand has been up since the start of the class, and I've called you like twice, but
Okay.
you were not
All right, sir.
Oh, okay, sir. Sir, my question is A and AS. What does it stand for?
Again, I want to assume this is also your own first class. So it's just an acronym that we use. So if you see that I eventually wrote the meaning at the next line. So AA simply stands for actual quantity times actual price. The first A being actual quantity, the next A being actual price. And you can see the AS stands for actual quantity times standard price. So A actual, S standard. So you can go over the previous video. I mean, we talked about that elaborately.
Hello,
So
sir.
Ishmael, I think this will be the last question I'm taking.
Good evening, sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Now, thank you so much.
Good evening.
My question is on the fixed overhead variance.
Okay.
When you started the class, you said we have 5 variants that we are going to discuss only on 4. So the last one is you mentioned fixed cost. So I want to confirm if you can just you said it what is it called? You give us the formula the last time, but I couldn't really pick it. So I want you to just go back to the formula so I can just jot it down and probably I'll be able to solve that for me.
Okay. So the person that asked about I think somebody asked about the difference between efficiency and capacity. I have not forgotten your question. I will answer. So let me quickly chip in fixed cost variance here so that we'll see how it works. And you will see that you should get the same thing when you add your overhead, your expenditure and volume variance. So fixed cost variance. Like I said, it should be your standard fixed cost minus your actual. So, and how do we get standard? Remember the same way we used to look for our standard when we're looking for standard hours, when we're looking for your standard quantity, whatever, is to multiply the budgeted by the actual production. So you want to see how much are we supposed to spend. I not even type. Let's just I want to, can everybody just quickly go back to the question? Where's it again? Yep. Okay, does anybody remember what we have here as our answer here? I think that was 40,000 minus 40,500. That's 5.
Yes,
Let
we
me
have
bring it.
500 there. Yes.
40,000 minus. I just want to show you how to deal with cost variance. So, and that was 500 adverse. All right. I mean, okay, good. So, going back to our question, I think everybody should be on the question now. So they said our budgeted unit was 5,000. Budgeted hours. At this point, we don't even care about hours. We just need units and the total. So remember our budgeted rates per hour. Per unit. Remember it was 8. Right? So if I want to get, now that I'm no longer producing 5,000 units, how much am I supposed to spend in total for my fixed overhead? Now I said this is a standard fixed overhead minus
That has left you.
Actual fixed overhead. This should be the formula. So want to see if it takes 8 naira to produce 1 unit, how much will it take to produce 5,200 units? So our standard fixed overhead will be 8 naira times 5,200, and that should be what? Is that 40,000? 40 plus
41,600.
41,600. 41,600. So we've gotten our standard fixed overhead. Like I said, it is your standard rate per unit multiplied by the actual production. Something very similar to what we did. Where is it again? Yeah. So this should be equals to, not that. So something similar to what we did here. So the standard, here we're talking about hours, so that we have standard hours per unit. But now we're talking about the cost itself. So standard cost per unit multiplied by your actual production. So we have 46. So I can just say my fixed overhead cost variance is just equals to that 41,000. Where is it again? 41,600 less 40,500. And you should have 1,100 favorable. What is this? So you should have 1,100 favorable. In the sense that you were supposed to spend 41,600, but somehow you managed to spend only 4,500. 40,500. So it means that you were able to save 1,100. Now, does this look familiar? So look at the two figures we have up here. Fixed overhead expenditure variance. We said it is 500 adverse. Fixed overhead volume variance is 1,600. So it's just like adding negative 500 to positive 16. You should arrive at positive 1,100. So this is why you necessarily don't need to calculate this cost variance. So just add these two together, you will be just fine. I think that speaks to your question. So for the person that asks the difference between efficiency and capacity variance, I'm saying efficiency is this is what you are supposed to use, like the number of hours you are supposed to use, but this is the number of hours you used. So that one is either you'll be efficient if you use lesser. That is, I'm telling you that you are supposed to use 2 days to read this book, but you are able to read it in just a day. It means you are efficient. Or you were supposed to use 2 days to read this book, and you read it in 3 days, it means you are not efficient. But on the other end, the capacity is saying what is the total capacity that you have to use. Let's say you borrowed the book from the library. You've already borrowed this for 2 days. You borrowed the book for 2 days. You've paid. You paid the librarian, or let's say you've paid them for 2 days, but you were able to read the book for one day. So it means that you've successfully wasted money for another day, because why do you have to pay for 2 days when I could have just paid for one day and I will do just fine? So capacity in that sense is saying that when you budgeted more than you actually use, you will have an adverse. But efficiency on the other end is saying that when you use less, or let me keep to the more, when you budgeted more, or when your standard is more than your actual, it is favorable, because in that sense it shows that you are very, very efficient. But capacity on the other end is saying that when your budgeted is more than the actual, it means it is an adverse, because you are just wasting capacity. So you are just wasting the room, or you are wasting the money you used to borrow it. But reverse is the case for efficiency. So that's what that one is saying. So do you understand it now?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. So in the next class, we'll be taking account questions actually, or through the next class we'll talk about questions. So if you missed the first or the second class, please kindly read up to avoid us going back many times, because I think I've tried enough that over the last two classes, I mean this class and the last class, to attend to as much possible questions as I could. And that is because I want to avoid questions when it comes to solving questions. Then we have to keep the flow. So kindly read up if
I
you
wanted to,
missed any. Yeah.
please, I wanted to ask if this PDF contains both content the content from last class and this class.
Yeah, it contains everything. Yeah. Though I should still send an updated one once my PowerPoint is done with the film trick or the play that is engaging that I don't understand. But I will send the updated one that has the solutions to the fixed overhead and the sales variance. So
Hello.
we will also
I
talk
also
about,
suggest
yeah,
you send a video too.
the video is always on YouTube anytime, any day. You can
Okay.
always get it on YouTube.
All right, sir.
Yeah, you can use the same link, or just go to Apex.
Thank you, sir.
It will always be there. So we also talk about variance reconciliation in the next class after we solved question. And then from there we move to advanced. The advanced variance should just take a class. Then we will use another class to solve questions that combines advanced and the basic. So roughly we'll be needing 3 more classes for variance analysis. I mean, this is the longest topic you can take in PM. This is actually the longest, and it spans across 2 chapters. So yeah, with that, I think we are going to end the class for today. I wish you a good night rest, and we see same time, same channel next
Thank you,
week.
sir.
Thank you,
So good
sir.
night.
Thank you, sir. God bless you,
Thank you,
sir.
Thank
sir.
you.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Sir.
sir.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.